Good morning, all. I think you was just watching me in the green screen now, a green room, doing all that, didn't you?
I couldn't see you actually.
Could you not?
No, no, I can only see myself in the bottom corner of the screen.
Oh, it is. Yeah, but either way, I'm back. After a painful week, which I'm still in a lot of pain in my mouth now. Um, so all I've got to say is thank you to my wife, Kerry, not you, the other
Not me.
Kerry, to taking over my podcast for the week, which she now understands how exhausting it is doing 3 in a day. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I know she'll be tuning in on the comments when she actually pops in, which I don't even think she knows I'm live. I don't know. Uh, but what I want to know is what we're talking about today: being in the now.
Yeah.
Please explain it.
It's actually very simple. But when you think about it, in the concept of time, all we have really is right now. Anything else has either already happened or not yet happened. So all we have is right now and
Yeah.
now and now.
I'm gonna do
Being
that.
in being in the I think being in the now, yeah, being in the now is very much about exactly as it says on the tin is being in the now, but it's about being consciously aware of ourselves, how we are in this particular moment, um, and everything around us in that particular moment. And it's quite easily done, really. I suppose. I mean, grounding is great. Grounding is great for a lot of things, but particularly for keeping ourselves in the present moment. Um, and meditation obviously can help with that as well.
Yeah.
But we can eventually train our minds, our brains to be pretty much in the now. It's a well-known fact. It's a proven fact that many people spend a great proportion of their day in the past, dwelling
Mm.
on things that have happened in the past. Equally, a similar amount of people will spend a similar proportion of their day in the future. And of course, we don't know exactly what's going to happen in our individual futures because it hasn't happened yet. And when you think about it, if all we have is now, the future won't isn't ever going to happen. We're never going to catch up to the future because it's always in the future. Um, so what we're doing is when we're going back, when we're dwelling on things in the past, this is where it starts to affect our mental health.
Mm.
When we look into the future, and because the future is so uncertain, nothing is given. Um, we start to worry about that, and so of course that produces and creates anxiety.
Yeah.
So we've got we've kind of got two different ends of the spectrum, if you like. So if we've then got issues such as depression, and I know that there are different types of depression, and not there are a few that really can only be treated with medication, certainly to begin with. Um, but the majority of it is what is going on up here.
Yeah.
You know, I've been there. I have absolutely been there. Um, it's a very strange thing. I think it was a strange time for me. I know that much. where I actually I struggled to get myself out of the past, but I struggled to be in the now because of the circumstances at the time, the environment that I was in. And it really wasn't until I set myself free, basically. I gave myself permission to move away, to start again, to start afresh. And it wasn't until that happened that I allowed myself to actually be present in the now and to not continue dwelling on what had happened that had, in the past.
Yeah.
Because you can't change those things. You can't change what has already been. So, of course, that didn't stop me from, wondering about the future and perhaps being a little bit worried about the future. What does the future hold for me?
See,
But when you realise that, being present in the now, because the now is all we have. You can't undo what's already happened. You can't necessarily foresee what might happen in the future. And what's the point in worrying about what might happen, because it might not happen? So, we end up with this what if scenario. Well, what if this happens? What if that happens? Well, what if it doesn't?
Yeah,
What if
see,
it happens? What if it turns out really well, really good? And this is where the power of the mind comes in. And that's a completely different conversation, obviously. So,
yeah,
but
we was having this conversation with our son just yesterday, because obviously he had a really terrible weekend, terrible, kicking off like it's not tomorrow, and I was talking about it, and he went, "Oh, it's in the past. It doesn't matter anymore." But I turned around to him and said, "Hang on a minute," and I want to know if everyone agrees on this. Is the past is actually what it makes you today?
Yes, that is very true. And how we are today depends on how we have dealt with everything that's happened prior to now, to right now, right this second.
Yeah. So the full statement in that is the past is what you make today, and the today is what will happen in the future.
I think I understand what you mean there. So
are you
today,
sure?
So I'll tell you how I see it. Okay, so being in the now is when I make the decisions about how I think and react to that which has already been. Okay, and I can still look back at everything that's happened over the course of my life so far, and I'm okay with it. I am absolutely okay with it, because I know that the choices that I made led to those particular circumstances, led to everything that happened in my life. Now, obviously, I'm not necessarily responsible for another person's decisions,
No.
or their beliefs. That they are responsible for all of those. And in that, knowing that also helps me to understand and accept that not everybody's going to like me, and that's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And that's, I believe so strongly that if we all believed that way, if we all think that way, if we all feel that way, then the world would be a much more pleasant place to be in. I mean, there are still some wonderful places, wonderful things, and wonderful people in the world, but it's about everybody being on that similar level, that similar vibration.
Exactly, because if we all like each other 24/7, I'm like, right, I've just had enough of you now. I want some negativity in our lives. But it's like that. We need negative in our lives for us to
We
grow.
do. We absolutely do. You're absolutely right. You know, for there's always an opposite. For everything, there is an opposite. And for us to understand and accept and appreciate and be thankful and grateful and to be able to be present, we need to a degree, you know, experience some of the opposites, but we need to accept that there are opposites in order to be able to appreciate,
Yeah,
you know, as in the negatives, in order to appreciate the positives.
See,
but equally as important is that we shouldn't, I believe that I've said this before, we are beings being human, and as human beings, we are meant to feel an absolute array of different emotions. We're meant to, we're supposed to.
yeah,
That's how we're built. And again, it's like you've said, we're built. It's how we're created. It's how we're made up. It's how we learn. Big part of how we learn.
See, this morning, obviously the kids, they're not well. They woke up and they've got a dry cough, anything like that. And obviously, people are going to say it's COVID, but it's not. They've just got a 24-hour book. Now, obviously, it weren't just me, because normally it is only just me ranting at the school, but Kerry started as well this morning. And I was speaking to one of the teachers over the phone this morning, and she was basically, obviously this ain't me going off topic, this is being in and out. And she was saying, because I was like, this is really concerning, because Lucas, he has to be doing all this work, even though he's ill. But then Tegan, she's only got 2 pieces of work, which is half an hour work, and that's supposed to last her the entire day. Well, I'm sorry, but that's not going to happen with Lucas getting all that attention and Tegan practically getting ignored. So we rang up and we started ranting, saying, hang on a minute, they're not robots, they are humans, and they have the same level of rights to an education. So, and then they said, because he's got special needs, he gets that extra. I'm like, no, he doesn't. Special needs or no special needs, the humans, they still have that same level of rights. So they turn around saying, we're not going to get anywhere with you. I'm like, probably not.
You see, that is kind of a yeah. I mean, it's a delicate situation, isn't it? Really, it's quite a sensitive situation, and it's
labels.
That's your situation, and that's your experience of another human being or a group of other human beings treating 2 younger human beings completely differently to each other.
Which is wrong.
In their minds, in the teachers' minds, they clearly believe that they're doing the right thing. Okay. In your mind, you believe that it's not.
The reason we say it's like, obviously you're breaking up then.
I've lost the screen completely. It's coming back slowly.
Yeah, you were breaking up then.
Yeah, don't know what's going on here. My laptop's thrown a wobbly. I might have to come out and come back in again. If I can find out where the screen is. Oh dear, oh dear. I found it. There. It's really not really not playing
no,
ball.
but anyway, like we was
explaining,
it's wrong. It's wrong.
In your mind, it's wrong.
No, not just in our mind. it's wrong because this is reality. This is the 21st century, and we've got something called the Equality Act, where they should be equally taught the same.
Okay, so you've got you've got some people here who are part of the educational system, okay, and they will have been that no, seriously, they will have been taught a specific way. They will have been taught a certain way, and they are acting upon their beliefs, okay, and you are responding according to your beliefs. So neither of you are actually wrong. We're going down a completely different rabbit hole here, but neither of you are actually wrong. Both of you are right, according to your individual beliefs.
We need a teacher here. We need to bring Sharon back.
Honestly, we each have our own model of the world, and that model of the world, our individual model of the world, is a combination of everything that we've learned so far, everything that we've decided that we're going to take on board so far. So every decision that we've ever made, all our memories, all our experiences, all of our beliefs, and our core values, and our meta programs. Meta programs are very, very interesting, and that's a whole separate subject or topic. Yeah. But it's they're very, very interesting. But they are what help make us who we are. They are what dictate, if you like, the way that we will think and what we will believe. Now, the thoughts that we have, the beliefs that we have, if they're not serving us, if they're not useful to us, we can change them, because this, like my title suggests, is our GPS system. It's a computer, and just like a computer, you can reprogram it.
Yeah.
Nothing is set in stone. There are certain things, in particular core values. I would go so far as to say that, you know, those core values are really and truly what the things that make us who we are. But even certain values can be changed. They can be altered if we want them to. If we believe, if we feel that we need to change them so that they're more useful to us, so that we can, for example, achieve the things that we really want to achieve. If our values are not in line with what we believe, values and beliefs, if they're not aligned, I'm not going to say that we won't achieve what we want to achieve, but I will go so far as to say that it will take us considerably longer to achieve those things.
See, I'm glad you mentioned that, because this brings me back to the phone call I had, where the teacher actually stated, saying, well, if we're not putting special needs first and we're treating them the exact same, then Lucas, who has a VHC plan, he won't achieve anything. It's like you're bringing in those labels and you're practically using his special needs, his autism, as an excuse to get high grades. It's like, you can't do that.
I can't really say one way or the other on that, because those are your beliefs, and again, they are to a degree clashing with the beliefs of the teachers at the schools. Now, the way that they've been taught, what they've been taught, is that right? Is it wrong? We don't know. All we do know is that every single individual person, every single individual human being is unique. No two human beings are absolutely and totally identical. That's true. You know, even identical twins, you can still see tiny, tiny differences. But the thing is here, as I said, you know, it's all down to our values and our beliefs. And it's what we've learned and where we've learned it from.
see, with our kids, there's an 18-month age gap.
Mm.
But the thing is, like Lucas being 9, Tegan being 8, 18-month age gap. But the thing is, Lucas, he's got an 18-month delay.
Right.
Yeah. So really, we're practically raising twins. In a way, if you think about it, the logical side to it.
So on an educational level, you mean?
No, not on a realistic level.
Okay.
Yeah, because obviously, like I said, Lucas is 9, Tegan's 8, and Lucas has got an 18-month delay, which really means they are exactly identical. Same
so
age.
Mentally, they're on a similar
So we're
educational level,
twins,
basically. Yeah.
In twins. No wonder they clash a lot.
Yeah. So yeah, it's, as I say, we all have our own model of the world. We all have our own set of values and beliefs, and we're going to be taught a certain set of values and beliefs within the jobs that we do, within the career paths that we take. And that doesn't mean to say that they don't change. Of course they change. They're changing all the time, every single second of every single minute of every single hour of every single day. They change, whether it's massively or by a tiny, tiny, tiny amount. They're changing all the while. They're just the same as our bodies are always changing, just the same as everything around us is changing constantly. It's never standing still. And that's why, being present in the now is so important to help prevent those negative feelings and thoughts and beliefs from things that have happened in the past. It's so essential to help us to prevent that awful anxiety, all those what ifs followed by a negative statement about things that in the future that haven't happened yet, and about what's actually going on right now.
Exactly.
Right now. And if we can focus on right now and be consciously aware of right now, then we're in a pretty good place.
Of course. Now, with National PTSD Awareness Day yesterday, let's talk about that.
Okay, so I'll be honest, I wasn't aware it was National PTSD Day yesterday until you put a post on Facebook about it. Yeah, I mean, we kind of covered a reasonable amount of in this topic last week, didn't we?
We did.
We chatted about trauma, post-traumatic stress syndrome. As I said last week, it covers an absolute multitude, and the majority of us. I'm guilty of this because I used to think this way. In that, it was something that would only affect those that had witnessed wartime atrocities. And I'm not talking about just the First World War and the Second World War. I'm talking about any Army, RAF, Navy personnel that have been on their tours and defended. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it wasn't until more recent years that I started to realise that it can actually affect people who have perhaps witnessed a really bad vehicle accident, for example. And another thing that we talked about last week as well was childbirth. Not just with the mother either, the father, if they're there during a pretty traumatic labour and childbirth for the mother, and they witness it, they too can be quite severely affected by that.
Yeah, see, just 10 minutes up the road from where we live, there was this idiot, and obviously he was full of alcohol in his system, and he was driving at the same time. And he knocked this poor guy over. Now, that guy that's been knocked over has now passed away.
Right.
Exactly. So, and obviously the driver, obviously he went off, and while I was pegging washing out yesterday, I heard a load of sirens left, right, and centre. So I don't know if it was a police chase. I don't know. But I'm just praise her obviously for that guy's family, because the trauma they're going to be experiencing right now. Obviously, the driver's been arrested now.
So here's something else. Okay, we tend to presuppose that somebody or a group of people will experience whatever. Okay, so as you've just mentioned, the family are going to be pretty traumatized by it all.
Yeah.
So I think it's my own personal belief with that expression, traumatized, with the word trauma, is it is very much individual, to the individual. What one will consider to be traumatic, another won't. They're all going to be going through a grieving process, which in itself can be traumatic.
Yeah.
But for others, it isn't necessarily. So to presuppose that they'll all be pretty traumatized by the whole thing is kind of saying you're expecting them to feel that way. If we all felt that way every time we lost a loved one, we'd be in a pretty shit state by now. All of us.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, because obviously, like back in February, I lost my uncle, and when Kerry informed me of that when she got back, I didn't take to it. I heard it, but I was straight away saying, no, that's not true. So in denial phase.
Yeah.
It's like, but it took me the next day before it said, wow, this has happened.
Grief is a strange thing. And we can talk about it because it is all a part of PTSD to a degree, with certain people, with some people, not everybody. I mean, you've just spoken about when you lost your uncle. When my mum passed about 4.5 years ago now. To be honest, she'd had dementia. And the last few days of her life, it was almost like we were all praying for it to end, basically. It was awful to watch, and I just hope and pray that she wasn't aware of anything that was going on. And the thing is, when I had that phone call from my dad, I was expecting it.
Okay.
But then you kind of like, okay, so I was very matter of fact about it, but then I kind of went a bit numb. I didn't allow myself to feel. Okay. And this is what a lot of people will do. They won't allow themselves to feel. It's not about being in denial. It's just that some people are afraid to feel because of the extent and the impact of the emotions that may come out. It's some people, like myself, it was a case of, okay, I needed to let that information settle in and really kind of embed itself in my mind before I decided how to deal with it. Okay, so I know that I have a very analytical mind. I've always had a really analytical mind. It's not necessarily helped me an awful lot in the past because I've been pulling apart and analysing the wrong things. But now, these days I know what I'm doing with it. I know what I need to be analysing, if anything at all. But grief is, as I say, is very, very individual, very individual. And we're all going to react completely differently to it. So, we can be numb for a number of different reasons, because first and foremost, we're numb because we are refusing to allow ourselves to feel. Okay. We're refusing to allow any negative emotion overspill, which is effectively what it does in those occasions.
Do you know what? You hit the nail on the head there about emotions. Now, obviously, I was just thinking while I was listening to you. Obviously, you was physically ready for it. You was emotionally ready, but would you say you was not psychologically ready for that?
I don't think I was even emotionally ready for it, to be honest.
Yeah.
My mum passed on a Thursday. I'd seen her on the Tuesday, and I knew when I left to come home that was the last time I was going to see her. And I hated seeing her the way that she was, which was pretty much useless. It was like there was a newborn baby in an elderly adult's body. It was awful. So along with the numbness, I allowed myself to feel relief. If that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
Relief, because it meant that mum was no longer suffering. It meant that my dad and my brother, who they all lived under the same roof. My dad and my brother still live under the same roof. They were no longer suffering. Now I can't say that. It was a blessing all round. To be perfectly honest, it really was. Obviously, my dad and my brother will grieve differently to me and differently from to each other. Because the relationship that my dad had with my mum was completely different to the relationship that my brother and I had with her. The relationship that my brother had with my mum was completely different to the relationship that I had with her. Yeah. So, we're each of us going to react completely differently from each other. And we are very much a family where we do our grieving in a solitary environment. We're not the three of us, we're not a grieve together type family. We're very much, we'll go away and we'll do our own thing. We'll do our own grieving. We all know that we're there for each other, and all we've got to do is, make that phone call or whatever. But we don't do all that grieving together. What we did do was we celebrated mum's life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
See, obviously, with my uncle, when I was informed he passed away, I was like, no, that's not true. And because I was already brought up on a lie anyway, I'm like, she already lied to me about many things, so she's got to be lying about this. It's so obviously I was all in that mood, and I was calm throughout it all, but it was still in my mind thinking, what else is she lying about? But then the next morning when I woke up in tears. It is when I woke up the next morning. So, and that's when it hit me. So yeah, I don't know what kind of moods I was in between that day and the following day. I don't know.
No, this is another wonderful thing that the unconscious mind does. It protects us. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just repress certain memories to protect us. It will also help. It will also repress certain emotions at times. But then we have, to a degree, we have control over our unconscious minds. So we can consciously think, nope, I don't want to feel anything at the moment. Excuse me. And, perhaps because we've got all these things going around, we're dealing with our emotions We won't necessarily have any specific thoughts about what's just happened, you know, other than, okay, what do I do now? You know, what happens next? What do we do now? And of course, for me, my dad and my brother, it was a case of notifying the whole family, or the family friends, anyone and everyone that knew mum or dad, both of them. And then of course you've got the funeral. You've got to arrange the funeral. So you're kind of busy doing stuff, really, which on the one hand is quite useful, because it saves anybody being able to just sit there and I'm going to use the term dwell in the negative feelings. I mean, not that that's wrong. I don't believe that that's wrong at all.
Okay.
We all grieve, as I say, in our own ways. And if we need to take that time out and just be in that state for however long it takes, on that particular day, then that's what we've got to do. We've absolutely got to do that. And anybody that tells you any differently, anybody that says, no, you shouldn't be doing that, you should be doing this, that is wrong. We each individually, we know how we feel and what we need to do to get through that particular moment and into the next one and into the next one and into the next one. Yeah. So we should be allowed to do that, as long as we don't allow it to completely take over and control us. As long as we, to a degree, can control it, then we're okay. And I get it that, some people, the grieving process can go on for a very long time. I once worked with a lady, she lost her dad. And this is going back quite a number of years now. And she really, really had a problem with the grieving process, as in she was still 2 years later grieving really quite terribly about it. It was as if she hadn't really been able to accept that he'd gone, so she was having a hard time actually dealing and accepting his passing, his death, if you like. And this is where bereavement counselling comes in, and it can and does help massively, but I think if we understand how our own minds work, how we work as individuals, and if we understand and accept that we can change how we think, we can change what we believe, we can change how we feel at any given moment, that in itself is a really wonderful thing. That is being in control of ourselves. Okay. And again, coming back to being present, being consciously aware in the present moment is also so very helpful. And if we're aware of all of that, if we're aware of ourselves, being aware of ourselves is so important, so important. It really is. And being able to connect with ourselves, I mean, really connect. And I know a lot of people out there will be thinking, oh, we're going a bit woo-woo now. Well, we're not really, because when you think about it, if we can't connect with ourselves properly, really properly, then how on earth can we connect with anything and anyone else around us properly?
Yeah, exactly.
That was a deep one this morning.
It was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say.
I don't think there is much to say after that, really.
There isn't, is there?
No.
No, but yeah. I'm
Wow.
speechless.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Food for thought, huh?
That's something we've been left on a cliffhanger now, aren't we?
I hope not.
No, but yeah, that was a deep one. I thought last week was deep. You're full of surprises, Kerry, aren't you?
What can I say?
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, that's it. We'll end this. We'll end this on a deep one, because we probably took it out on people.
Possibly. Be interesting, actually, if
If we got feedback, yeah.
It'd be good. Yeah, it'd be good to see some comments. Actually, but good to have a look at some comments later on once people have had a chance to have a watch and a listen, and get their opinions, their thoughts on the whole thing.
Let's get this on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'll even
Definitely.
post this on Twitter as well. See what that does.
Yeah. Why not?
Absolutely. Yeah. But anyway,
Let's do it.
let's do this. Cheers for coming on. And next week,
A pleasure as always.
I've noticed it's Children's Art Week next week.
Okay.
So let's make it a little bit fun.
All right then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's get our creative heads on.
Yes.
I don't know the topic.
Oh, I'm sure I can come up with something.
Brilliant. All right then.
Excellent.
Right, I'll end this now. See you all next week.